Okay, welcome back everybody. I'm about to change my bobbin and rethread my Janome 400e sewing machine. I thought I could share that with you really quick. I was in the middle of embroidering and explaining something else, but I realized I had an error on the screen that said the bobbin thread may not be sufficient. So, perfect opportunity to show this process. So first off, let's do the embroidery. Let's do the bobbin thread. Normally it's stored in the bobbin case down here. There's a little slider. Pop the slider, this cover will come off. My old bobbin has 0 thread left on it, so I'm glad it gave me the warning. There is nothing on there. So I'm going to set that out of the way for now. And start with my fresh clean bobbin that I have just wound. Today I am working on a quilt, so I'm actually winding the bobbin in the same thread as the top, which is a cotton free motion quilting thread. I'm not using embroidery bobbins because it's going to show on the back of my quilt. So when you're putting in a bobbin into this machine, I always remind myself, mind your P's and Q's. What that means to me is if I run the, hopefully this shows on the screen, if I run the bobbin thread out the side of my bobbin and it makes the letter P, then that's what I want. I want to install it with the letter P. If it's going out the other way, it's making kind of a lowercase letter Q. We do not want a letter Q. I want a letter P. So letter P is coming off this left-hand side. And I'm going to pop that in now, and no, it's not great. There's kind of a metal arm down here, and then there's a hook. I want the thread to go around and underneath that metal arm, and then I pull it out to the side and follow the little arrows on the diagram, lift it up. It should go right through that thread path, that kind of U-shaped thread path. If I pull it this side, it will trim off the extra thread at just the perfect length for the bobbin. And we replace the cover. The bobbin thread is complete. Next step is to thread my top thread. Now, since I am using these large cones, I have my spool stand installed. This is an add-on feature that you can buy for this and several of the other Janome machines. It has this arm. This one will actually hold up to 5 threads. It's pretty handy. When you're using the spool stand, you get this extra bobbin guide. It's part of the install package. So the first thing I'm going to do, run the thread up through the arm and then through this guide off to the right. If you're using the regular thread stand, you don't have this guide. Ignore that part. So you would just start here. Next up, there's this metal thread guide. There's an illustration on the top that shows what it should look like. I'm going to snap my thread through the back guide. It kind of made a clicky sound, and now it's kind of tightly stuck in there, but still free-flowing left to right. Now we loop it over the front, and it'll sort of catch on the bottom of this piece. And now, following my arrows, the arrow loops around here, so around the back. Like I said, I forgot to mention, always make sure your presser foot is completely up and your needle is completely up, so that the take-up lever, which is right here, is all the way at the top. This machine will stop like that by default, so if you're just using the machine buttons and are not turning the hand wheel on the side, then it will always be here. But again, presser foot up, not down on that will help too. So around this arrow, now down here are the tension guides. So that was number 1. Number 2 is to go down this thread path. So down this thread path, loop around. It's going to come up and around the back of this metal hook, the take-up lever, and it will kind of snap as it went in there. And the thread should be loosely flowing at this point. If it's not for some reason, check it to make sure that you shouldn't have to pull hard on this at all. If you do, you'll have tension problems. So it goes down here, and there's a thread, this kind of arm of a thread guide. We'll go behind that. And now I realize this part you're not going to have a good view of. I might try to get a close-in view later on. But there is a needle threader. First there's a guide for the needle threader. I slip the thread underneath the guide. And now to thread the needle, there's a lever. I gently push it down. Don't slam this thing. There's a teeny tiny little hook that has to make it through the eye of your needle and back out. If you slam it and it goes too fast, you might break the little hook. Don't do that. Be nice to your threader. But gently lay it down and it snapped. My needle's in the right place, and that needle threader snapped into place nicely, so I can feel that it's right where it should be. So now I loop the thread underneath this side of the needle threader, across the needle, and there's a little arm on the back, and I kind of loop it around. It sort of holds the thread out of the way. Now the trick is, before I let go, I want to hold the loose thread to the right, but not that tight. If I hold it too tight, it won't be able to pull the thread through. If I hold it too loose, sometimes it'll pull it through too fast. From here, I will gently coerce it to where it snaps back. And look, there's a little loop of thread in the back. And voila, we have a fully threaded needle. And it looks like there's some extra thread here. I'm going to cut that off. And my machine is now ready to go again.